You have arrived at America's most patriotic Christian broadcast. We're bringing it to you live tonight, right here in the great state of South Carolina, our nation's last conservative stronghold. Welcome to God's country. It's fixing to get on up in here tonight. Here on this broadcast, it's a little bit different. We stand on these founding principles: our faith, our families, and our freedoms. And each one of them, we would gladly lay down our lives for. You ask why? Because we're patriots. So get on the phone tonight and call another person. Text them up. Tell them, hey, the U.S. Patriot Pastor's on. Hey, I'm Dr. Rick Cope, and we want to welcome you tonight to God's Country Podcast. Let's do this. Warning, this is a liberal warning. If you as much as lean left in your recliner, you're going to get offended tonight. So don't blame me if you get your feelings hurt. We're just dropping the truth in a fake news world while watching our nation fall apart right in front of our eyes. It's our job to bring this to a new generation, picking up where our founding fathers left off to secure our children's future of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness right here on God's country. Brought to you by Grits, the road rage remedy. Well, good evening, my fellow patriots, and welcome to God's Country Podcast, right here with the USPatriotPastor.com. We have such a special show for you today, and it is Memorial Day weekend while we're recording this, but tonight it is Memorial Day as we celebrate those that have fallen and given the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's freedom. This is a passionate subject for us, and the families that have paid the ultimate price are known as Gold Star families. And tonight we have a special guest with us, so we'll get into that in just a moment. But before we get started tonight, we want to thank our sponsors tonight, and especially this one because it's a veteran-based company, Chosen Comfort Heating and Air Systems. They're based right here in the Carolinas. They service both North and South Carolina. And if you let them know you tuned into this podcast tonight with the U.S. Patriot, they're going to give you a special, a $49 special. And I promise you, these guys, you're going to love them. They're true blue to the thing they do, and they're also American patriots. And we sure appreciate them tonight helping us in this podcast. Well, tonight we are in a very special arena with America. We pause this time of year to remember those who have fallen and given the ultimate sacrifice. Too many times this particular day is misconstrued with like Veterans Day or the 4th of July, but I want to explain to a new generation this may be coming up. Maybe your children's watching tonight, and I wish they are. I hope they are. And I hope that you will share this with someone tonight as we really deep dive into what it's like for these families. America is a free country, but it was not free. It is paid for by the blood of those that have given their lives in the ultimate sacrifice from the wars of Vietnam, Korea, World War I, II, Afghanistan, Iraq, all the wars that we know that have been fought to preserve the freedoms that we have, even the one we're using tonight called the freedom of speech. And as we're gathered tonight, somewhere in America, there are families that will never see loved ones again. Memorial Day was established for this reason. It was established that we may remember the price of freedom. If you want to know what the price of freedom looks like, go take a look at Arlington National Cemetery. Over 600 acres of why we are free. I have served alongside of military families in my ministry. I have seen folded flags given to children, widows, mothers, and fathers. It is the most moving thing and the most honorable thing I believe I have ever done outside of preaching the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ in my entire ministry and career. And tonight we are very blessed to have one of those family members with us. Memorial Day, in times past, I would find myself at cemeteries with families, with troops. I have celebrated this alongside of so many, and I've met so many heroes. I want you to know that heroes do not play basketball. They don't play football. They don't play soccer. They're not politicians, and they're not pastors of heroes of America. The heroes of America are these unsung people that many don't know. Like in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, we don't know who that is. That's why it's titled The Unknown Soldier. It's why it's heavily guarded 24 hours a day, that we can pay our deepest respects for the people who have given the ultimate sacrifice. As these men and women laid down their lives, they didn't lay down their lives alone. All of them had families. They had mothers, fathers. Many were married. There were children left behind, extended family members, siblings. And those people live with the pain and the hurt and the absence of loved ones for the rest of their life. There never is a normal. There's a new normal. And it is a normal that many of them have to adjust to. And it wasn't that they died as we die. It wasn't that they died of car accidents or cancer. They died in battle. They died paying the price for America's freedom. And it is such a contrast to anything that we know as far as a typical funeral. If you have never attended a service of a fallen military person in battle, I suggest, if you hear of one in your town, one in your city, even if you don't know the family, go pay your respects. And go write a letter, do something just to say thank you. Because I promise you, you go to your job today, you go to your school today, your children go to their colleges. They're protesting even if we disagree because they have the freedom of speech. You're going to go to your church. You're going to play softball. And Pastor, you're going to preach today because somebody paid a price that you could stand in your pulpit and proclaim the unadulterated Word of God and our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. So I do believe that it is respectable and honorable that we pause on this day today as you are there celebrating, maybe by the lake, listening with your family. Maybe you're gathered at the park. Maybe you're having a cookout. But today is not a day about cookouts, celebrations, life on the lake or at the beach. Today is not just a paid holiday. I think we do our nation and our families a disrespect if we don't pause and explain to them what this is all about. Just a while ago, I was getting ready to come to the studio, and I have two of my grandchildren at the house. My wife and I was just keeping them today. And Hadley Ray is a little thing, and she's probably 4. I think she's about 4. And Hadley saw me get out an American flag, and I draped it over my balcony on the back porch. And she says, "Papa, why do we have the flag? Why do we have the flag out?" I looked at her, I said, where do you live, Hadley? I live in South Carolina. I said, that's right. Don't you ever forget it. Home of grits, girl. Don't you forget that. I said, what country do you live in? She said, I don't know. I said, yes, you do. You live in the United States of America. She said, that's right. The United States of America. I said, and tonight I'm going to go record about some men and women who gave their lives and they passed away. They died. And they gave their lives so that we could stand beneath this flag. And today we honor them. She looked at me and she said, those were special people, Paul. I said, you better believe it. As they grow older, we should be talking to them. As they are able to comprehend, we should teach them history. We just had a segment here a while back about today's education has turned to indoctrination, and they're trying to rewrite history. They're trying to eliminate everything that we know. But it is past time that we stand up as Americans, as Christian Americans, and begin to teach our children true history, what it's really about. So tonight I'm honored to have with me a young lady who is special to me because she's my niece. And I'm her favorite in the entire family of 400. And she may not say that, but I am. And I feel like I am. But I have known her since before she was born. And she's no longer a little girl anymore. She is making me feel a little bit old. And her name is Sierra Hill, and we are honored to have her Gold Star family. She is the daughter of a fallen soldier who was killed in Iraq, her father, Christopher Hill. And we're going to get into this, and we want to tell you about his life. And she is a symbol of America. She's a symbol of thousands and thousands of families who have walked this road. But so many times, you and I, civilians, we don't really understand, or we haven't heard what it's like, you know. And tonight I've invited her in because I've watched her life from birth to now, and the roads and the transitions of life in absence of her hero and ours, Christopher Hill. Cheryl, Cheryl. My sister's name is Cheryl, and she looks just like her. And I want to welcome you tonight, Sierra, to our podcast here at God's Country.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm finally back from college for the summer.
When you say college, I feel like my arthritis kicks in. You know, it's sad. It really is. And it's terrible. I don't want to talk about college. I still remember this little girl running around, you know, with just not even bleached blonde. It's just white hair. And, but so now you're in college, and how old are you now?
I'm 21.
Where are you attending college?
At USC Upstate.
USC Upstate, and what are we going to do with our life? What are we going to do?
I'm in nursing, so I just got into the upper division nursing program at Upstate. I have been working towards that program for over a year now.
And you just finished your sophomore year.
Yes, technically I'm a junior. If you want to go off of years. But my credit hours say I'm a super senior.
Wow. So how much longer you got to go?
2 more years. So 4 semesters of upper division, and you can't get any shorter than that.
And so, is there a particular field in nursing? Is there something?
Well, it started looking at pediatrics, but now
Help us, Lord.
I'm leaning more towards med-surg.
Okay.
So it's people that just got out of surgery or whatever, and you're working on their injuries and making sure that they can go home.
Wow. So your father, Christopher, they've told you a lot about him.
Yeah.
They've painted his world in pictures.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, you know, when Chris passed away, I think every family member was trying to collect everything we could for you. You know, I thought you were 18 months old, but I heard 14 months
14.
old. 14 months old.
Mm-hmm.
All these years I thought it was 18, but it's 14 months old.
It is.
But let's don't go there yet. I want to talk about your dad. I learned some things tonight. And so he marries my sister, of course. But before he marries my sister, now we are located in South Carolina, of course. You're watching from all over the nation. But and where we live is right on the Charlotte, North Carolina line. And from my studio, I can about throw a rock and hit Charlotte. And but Chris wasn't from Charlotte. Chris was from California. I remember my sister bringing this guy to our house, and introduced him to the family, of course. But tell us a little bit how your father grew up.
So my grandparents, who live in California.
Oh, yes.
They told me about him through pictures, through some home videos.
Let's introduce them. Let's wave at them right here. So Callie's out there.
Hi.
And introduce your grandparents.
My grandmother is Adrian Hill. And my grandpa is Ken Hill.
Ken Hill. And they are the wonderful parents that produced this American hero.
Yeah.
And what part of California we're talking about here? North, south, east, west?
So they live in Moore Park, but it is Southern California.
Southern
About an hour to LAX.
Southern California. Hour north to LA?
Yeah.
Hour north to LA. And so Chris is pretty much born and raised in that area?
Yes.
Now, when I think California, though, it's either on fire or it's a mudslide.
Yeah, just about.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of the two. But I found out something very strange about him. The guy lived next. They're not far from the ocean.
No, they're 15 minutes from the beach and from the mountains.
And so he liked. Go ahead. What was this? What did he do? What did he like to do?
Well, he did like to surf in his younger age, and he did like to skateboard, which, I have cousins there, and they love both of those things. So it's such a common thing to see a surfer out.
Okay, this was the mind-boggling thing. So my sister's going to be watching this, and she's watching this right now. You never told us that you married a surfer dude. He never told me he was a surfer dude.
Yeah.
He didn't look like, because when I think of surfer dudes, they look like Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, they look like Jesus. And he was always clean-cut guy,
Yeah.
I never knew he liked surfing. He never said that. I always thought, he's like a redneck like us. But what'd you say about him?
I said he really wanted to be country.
So your mother married him, or she dated him when she found him, but she found this guy who wants to be country.
Yeah.
From California.
Yeah.
That's and it tickles me tonight because all these years I never knew that. And your dad was just the most lovable guy. Mm-hmm. I remember when she brought him home. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But so he grows up there. Mm-hmm. He likes surfing, and I'm assuming he graduates, of course, high school there, and he goes through high school. And at some point, he decides he's going to look at military.
Yeah, I was told that he started looking at military at 18. He enlisted at 18 years old, but before that,
Wow.
he wanted to be EMT.
So straight out of high school, he goes in the military.
Yeah.
He served several years before he met my sister.
Yeah.
He was in Korea.
He was in South Korea.
He was on the honor guard.
He was in the old guard.
In the old guard in Washington.
Yes.
I have to go double check this fact, but if I'm not mistaken, he was in there when the Pentagon was struck in 9/11.
He was. And
was rescuing people from the Pentagon.
He was. Actually, we found his badge holder that has Pentagon on it.
Really?
Yeah.
When that went down, it was after his passing. They come back and said, he was in the Pentagon when all that went down with 9/11. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I didn't know that, So he's pretty well, he's got a military mindset before he meets, of course, my sister. And he serves, and then he goes into reserves, correct?
Yes.
And where was he stationed for his reserves? He came this way, I think, or something?
He was in Charlotte when Mom and him met. But he was stationed out of Fort Riley, Kansas.
Fort Riley, Kansas. So he was here in the reserves when him and your mother met. Now, according to my sister, she meets him like on some kind of a date, wedding date.
Some kind of wedding date. It was a mutual friend between the two of them.
she was with the mutual friend.
Yeah, that's what she told me. She was with the mutual friend, and then she met Dad because they were roommates.
So your father stole his friend's girlfriend.
That's what it sounds like.
The surfer dude.
Yeah.
My sister turned down a boy from Charlotte for a surfer dude. That's killer.
Yeah.
She never told me that. Cheryl, we got to talk when we get out of here. She never told me that. That's killer. That's killer. So she meets this guy. Mm-hmm. They fall in love, and they were married. Mm-hmm. And they had this beach wedding.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I wasn't able to attend. I was out of town, and she's sending me pictures, of course. They're on the beach. He sang to her.
Yeah, he did.
Your father could sing.
I know.
Now, you got to see the wedding.
I did. I got a couple videos of it that I've seen.
What'd you think? Could he sing?
Yeah, I mean, he sang pretty good. You can't really hear it over the wind, but
yeah,
he could sing pretty good. I think he was singing an Elvis Presley song.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's my boy right there now. Now, that'll reel a girl in right there.
Yeah.
So I saw some pictures earlier, too. Looks like they had like a luau reception.
Yep.
With the luau, with the laid luau's, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I know it was in the back of Grandma and Pawpaw's backyard in Florida.
Right.
But I think that's what it was. And I've seen a couple videos of that too, but it's so dark and
yeah, it was dark in the pictures
then.
I saw.
Not good.
Matter of fact, the pictures wasn't as good a quality because back then we didn't have all y'all's technology today. You got to bear with us, girl. We barely got our 8-track tapes back then. You know what I mean? And so, they're married, and she come to me, and hey, we're gonna get married, And I remember my brothers, your Uncle Brian and Uncle Tim, we all seen this guy. We were like, I wonder if we should even tolerate him. She said he's from California, And I can't remember which one of the brothers said this, but we said, oh, we won't have to worry about it. She'll probably end up killing him anyway, because your mother was like the epitome of country. You hear me? And I'm thinking, this dude don't know what he's getting into. Mm-hmm. And but they were madly in love. Yeah. That boy loved your mama now, and he was good to her, and we loved him. We absolutely adored Chris, and so a strange thing happened. They decided we got a baby on the way.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden this little thing's going to pop up, and I get a phone call, and Cheryl's going to have a child. I said, Cheryl's going to have a baby.
Yeah.
My sister Cheryl's going to have a baby. Boy, that kid's going to be around her. You know what I mean? And it's the first thing I told her. And so we found out she's expecting, and you're born, and Chris is beside himself.
Yeah.
I looked at her and I said, tell me this, do you know what he said when he first laid eyes on you?
No. What Mom said is that he said she's going to be a doctor, but that could have been encouragement for college.
He looked straight at you when you were born, and he said, she's perfect. She's perfect. Now, I don't know if he'd say that today. No. No, he'd still say that. He'd say, she's perfect. Every dad feels that way. And it was a gleam in his eye. He was a great father. He constantly, was with you. Pictures, got to have pictures, Dad's first baby. And he just didn't know how expensive you were going to be. He hadn't put that. He never had a child, so this is his first, and it's a girl, and he has no idea the debt that comes with that, between all the care of makeup and everything that comes with it. So, but man, he was excited. And so he gets a phone call one day. And that phone call is that I had surrendered to preach. And I called your mother, and I called all the family. And I finally, God had called me to preach years ago, and I had finally went in and surrendered. I was in Hartsville, South Carolina. Pastor Teddy Moore. And he said, I want you to preach your first sermon in my church. Now, I was in a revival down there singing, and it was on like a Thursday. And it caught me so off guard because that night I stood up and testified and said, the Lord called me to preach a long time ago, but my wife didn't know it. Nobody knew it. And I'm tonight just throwing in the flag, and I'm surrendering. Let's do this. Well, he got so excited. He's like, I want you to preach your first sermon at my church. And I'm like, Lord, you got to study or something. You mean, you just don't start like that, you know? He said, this Sunday night. And so I called the family, and it was a very small church. And 70 family members showed up that night in this very small church. Now, our family's huge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so all these family members come down, and in that service was your dad. And I'm going to tell you something that I've never had a chance to tell you. I was at the back door of the church, and he's coming out. Chris never been to Baptist church in his life, I don't think. He probably thought we was fixing to handle snakes. You know, he didn't know what we were doing, you know. And he's walking out with your mom, and he's got you, you know, Cheryl's got you, and he said, I'm searching, and I don't know exactly what to do. And the Lord just gave me a verse for him, and I said, Chris, the Bible says if you'll seek the Lord, you'll find him. This is God talking to you. Don't let him go. Just keep seeking him. The next night, and this was on a Sunday night, the next night, my other brother, Tim, was at South Charlotte Baptist Church, at his church, and they were having a revival. Your father took it on his own to go to church again. The Lord just, whatever I said about seeking the Lord, I said, if you're don't stop. Seek the Lord, and he will make himself clear. And your father went to church that night, and he found his way to an altar and gave his life to Christ. They called me after church, and I knew my brother I couldn't go that night, but they were having revival. And they said, man, you ain't going to believe this, but Chris Hill got saved. He gave his life to Christ. I said, do what? I said, I'm coming. They said, oh, by the way, he's going to get baptized Wednesday night of revival. They're having a special baptismal service. I said, I'll be there. I'll be there. I said, I just seen him last night. He was talking to me at the back door of the church. And so we go, and this is what's crazy. We're in a revival, and your father shows up in a military outfit. He's in his uniform, okay? And they did like a special presentation that night, and I think if I remember correctly, he carried the flags down or something. I'm sorry, carries the flags down or something, and he's getting baptized. Well, we bought him a Bible. Mm-hmm. You have that.
Yeah, I do. So
you have, and so you have like a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But I bought that for him, and I had my brother to sign it, and I believe Jeremy McCarver signed it.
Yeah, he did.
Pastor Jeremy. So Jeremy, myself, and my brother Tim, we all signed it for him. And we were elated. I watched him get baptized, and I thought, that dude from California. Can you believe that? That dude from California. And he just sold out. So 9/11, really rocked the world, and a lot of your generation doesn't understand the gravity of what happened. But a true soldier is always a soldier, whether they're in. I've met thousands of these guys, and they're just a different mindset. And it is a valor that cannot be put into words. So you're born. They've got a family. He's already served. He's out, just in reserves. Mm-hmm. And he calls me on the phone. And he says, Rick, I'm re-upping. I said, for what, man? I can't do this. I can still hear the conversation. He says, I can't do this, man. My brother's is over there. I said, Chris, you got a brand new baby, man. I know it. I know that. He said, but I can't. I just can't sit here watching this, and I know that I can help, I tried my best. And I almost forgot. This is so powerful. And I want y'all to listen to this. This was his words. He said, Rick, Tim's a plumber. Y'all's families are plumbers. He said, and you're a preacher. He said, but I'm a soldier. And it was like a ton of bricks hit me. Mm-hmm. I was like, daggone, man. He said, that's who I am. That's what I do. He said, I'm going back in. And so he did. And nobody forced him. There was no draft. Yeah. He literally saw the need of the cause, and he re-upped to go. And, of course, it shook the whole family. You know, it's wartime. It's not just going back in. It's wartime. And I could only imagine how your grandparents felt, you know, in California during that time. Did they talk to you about that?
They did. They said that, one, my grandmother never served in the military. I think my grandpa, though, did, in the Army at that. Both of them were shocked, but my grandpa wasn't as shocked. Like, he was kind of waiting on it.
Wow.
But my grandmother, she was just, are you sure you want to do this? I mean, you got a new kid. This is just not a smart idea.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, like, this is what I have to do. It's not what I need to do or I want to do. I have to do this. And there was no convincing him otherwise. It was, this is something he needs to do.
You know, during that time, of course, he's got to leave Charlotte. Mm-hmm. He re-ups. Now, later I would find out what was said to his sergeant major when he did re-up. I met the sergeant major at the funeral, and this is what he told him. He said, I'm going back in. He said, Chris was so persistent. He was this persistent that he was direct in where he wanted to be. He said, he told me he wanted to be on the front line. And he said, I literally tried to talk him down out of it. He said, no. He said, if I'm going to re-up, and you want me to re-up too, he said, I got to be on the front line. So your father's position was the first gunner on a convoy, running a 50 cal. And we'll get further into that in a minute, but he wanted to be right in the front. I'm just trying to paint this picture, the mindset of this guy, that fear is not even in his brain. He don't know the definition of this, okay? I know the uneasiness of children. I can only imagine how he felt about leaving, you know, you and I know he loved you. And I'm still thinking about my sister. I'm still debating that one. You know what I'm saying? But it was actually it was actually you. I think. No, he loved Cheryl, and to leave all that behind, and his parents and his brothers and sisters. You know, it is mind-boggling, the mindset of a soldier, and. So he does, and they shoot him off to Fort Riley, Kansas.
Yep.
So he's stationed in Kansas, and did they talk to you a little bit about that, his stay there? And
they told me it was in the middle of nowhere.
Well, Kansas is nowhere. There's nothing there in Kansas. Yeah. Dorothy's still out there in the Wizard of Oz, but outside of that, there's nothing in Kansas. But go ahead.
But, I mean, that's really it. We visited him a couple times. I do have, like, this, like... I can't remember what they're Beanie Babies that has a Kansas, like a sunflower on it, has Kansas on there.
Yeah.
But other than that, all they told me was it was in the middle of nowhere. We were there for like maybe 3 days at a time. We were coming right back. Like it wasn't like a long trip or anything like that.
So according to my sister, she took you out there. I think it was around Father's Day, and so he could see you, and then he takes off, and that was the last time that she ever saw him. You know, it was amazing the timing of God. Chris gives his life to the Lord. I received a picture, and it was so strange, of him being in the war. And I probably got it packed because I kept it. And it was a birthday cake. He celebrated his birthday while he was over there. And it said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. And I thought, man, that's what I'm talking about. So let's talk about a little bit about what happened. You actually got more intel into it since I originally knew what happened through people you had talked about the situation. So Chris is the first gunner, and he's in Fallujah, Iraq. Now, this is in '06, correct?
04.
'04, yes. I'm sorry. My church was '06. This was '04. So this was '04, and this was in a time of the conflict where the IEDs were really just coming into play strongly with our military, which is these improvised explosive devices. Set them up along highways, just go off on the convoys or whatever's coming by. And Chris is a first gunner on a military escort for the Marines, right? Mm-hmm. And when his convoy is struck. Now, from what I understand, there's 3 men in this Humvee.
Yeah.
Of course, Chris was killed immediately. Mm-hmm. Another young man. Mm-hmm. And there's a young man that lived.
Yeah.
Our family has since made contact with him, and a wonderful guy. Yeah. He's out in the Midwest, and he's contacted you.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
He talked to me when in my first year of college. Before I was at Upstate, I was at Anderson University, and he would text me just about every day. I want to say for a few months after my birthday. He had just found out about my birthday. And then he would text me and he would be like, hey, I saw that it was your birthday. Like, I'm glad you had a good time. What's going on in your life now? So he would ask me just about every day, how was your day? How was classes?
How
was school? And as I told you earlier, I think it's just this common thing between all military members.
Yeah.
It's like, that was my brother in arms. I need to watch after their family after he's passed.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome thing to actually get to talk to him.
That's incredible. I've made contact with him, and a lot of those guys, of course, they've been through a lot, and they don't want to talk a lot about the situation, which is totally understandable.
Right.
I do sense that family, that close-knit brothers in arms, and he's a miracle. He should be not even be here right now.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to watch this, and salute to you, my brother. And we know who you are. We know where you're at. And this is your home. This will always be home to you too. Our family's your family. So that day, Chris is killed. I'll never forget getting the phone call. I was in Charlotte, and I was working on some music at the time. For another soldier in, of all places, Fallujah, Iraq. The families knew one another because they're friends of our family, and but they weren't stationed together, so they didn't. Yeah. They weren't in the same conflict. And I get a call that the music that I'm writing for the military was finished because it was wrote for a soldier by the request of his mother when I wrote the song. And the song's finished. The boy comes home that I wrote it for. And then I get a call. My brother-in-law was just killed in action. This was a absolutely blown away moment. Because for about 4 months, I had been working on a support deal for the military, this family. And here it is, our family, that is affected by it. The knock comes at the door. And you automatically know when there's 2 military people standing at the door without saying a word. You know. My sister was devastated. His parents got the same thing. And you learn right then the cost of freedom. The cost. It is an undescribable thing, and it's why it's got a lot to do with why I did this podcast. Gosh. To never forget. I knew him. Not like his parents. Not like you. Not like your mom. I just knew him as my brother-in-law. A guy who was crazy enough to marry my sister. Dude could sing. What did you say he sang at her wedding? Something like Elvis
Presley. Some Elvis
Surfer
Presley
dude had
song.
some good taste.
Yeah.
I mean, they ain't no better than Elvis. You know what I mean? And I think that's how you got your mama.
Probably.
I'm serious. Your mama's always been a sucker for stuff like that.
Probably, honestly.
Yeah, she'd come up to me because I sang, and she'd go, my new boyfriend, he can sing. That's the guy I knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the guy I knew. And he was good to her. He was good to her. And I was praying about this podcast, and I couldn't shake it. Because I'm watching your generation in college now. You could talk a lot about that. How they're protesting our country and protesting and, and here you are, and they have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's part of where I'm at. I'm like, God, I have got to do something to wake up this generation on His behalf. It's about our faith, of course. Our God is real, and our scriptures and our faith in Christ is preeminent in this. But it's about our families, and it's about our freedom. And when I saw, and I have been watching, the condition of our country, my mind always goes to Chris, especially in your generation, because they don't know. They don't know about what you've been through and his mom and dad. They don't know this mess. But yet they want to stand up and burn our flag and throw. Girl, they better be glad I'm a preacher. I got some of your mama in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm trying my level best to wake up a generation, because you get that knock at the door, it is reality now. And it's no turning back.
Yeah.
So I go see, my sister, and I got to help walk her through this. I've never done this. I'm brand new in the ministry. And I don't have words. I'd never been around a fallen soldiers memorial like this. But it is intense. It's completely different. I've been a pastor now for 18 years, and to this day, I've done hundreds of funerals. I have never seen anything like this. When veterans pass, it is honorable, and we honor all of them. When pastors pass, we honor them, their wives, their kids, those people that serve of every capacity. But there's something different when a man dies in the heat of battle. It is speechless. I want to tell you about this day. I get to the church early. There's a sergeant major out of Fort Bragg who's assigned to your mother. He didn't know what grits was. He wanted to meet me early. I said, meet me at the restaurant. We got to go over the service. I got to go over the details. So right down the road from the church was a Denny's, and I took him in there, and he was from like up north somewhere. God help him. And he wanted to get a bagel. And I said, that thing tastes like a rock. I said, I'm going to get you some grits. He said, what is that? I said, son, you don't know what grits are? I ordered him some grits, and he went, dude, I could do this. We ain't got these where I come from. It seems like it was Delaware. I'm trying to remember where that guy was from. And he's explaining what all they're going to do. We got to explain what we're going to do. We're getting really the order of service down. And we go back to the church because they're calling us, telling us they're bringing your father to the church. It's just me and him when the funeral procession pulls up. And when he gets out of the car and they roll that coffin in that church, they fold the flag back, they open it up, and he's laying full military honors. And I was shocked because he had medals everywhere. Well, I didn't know what all these meant, and I just happened to ask him while they were making sure everything was right. And I said, "What do you know what all these mean?" And this is correct. I still see this stuff. He goes, whew, he gets that military stand and fixes his jacket, turns his hand sideways. He said, now, this one. He was in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, no, he wasn't. He was in California. He said, no, he served in Korea. He said, this is not American. And he took the time to explain every single medal on him.
Yeah.
And I was like, get out of here, man. And, but yeah, he served in Korea, and you was talking about that earlier. So
Yeah, he served a tour in Korea, and I didn't tell you this before, but we were going through that trunk last night, and we found a letter from a boy in Korea that had, I don't know what the terms were of how they met, but there's a picture of them two together.
Wow.
And he wrote a note to him saying like, how is it like being here? How do you like being in the front of everybody? And he put it in quotes. And it was very interesting. There's a lot of pictures of him in Korea, and he does look kind of funny because he got rid of the mustache and most of his hair, actually.
I bet he taught that little Korean boy, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. Huh. So, yeah, we're there. I'm on the platform because I've got to speak, got to sing. Your mother had requested several things, and so I'm not in the audience, so I can see the audience. Let me tell you the price that I saw that day that I have yet to this day to ever see again. It's the only funeral I have ever seen this happen in. When you work for a funeral home, they're respectable to the families, and they're very very gracious. But it can be a job. Mm-hmm. It's their job, yeah. And so they're not going to have the sense of remorse and grief that we do. Mm-hmm. When all the family comes in, I walk up to the platform and I turn around and I look out, and the funeral home directors that were in the back of that church were sobbing uncontrollably. It's the only funeral I've ever seen that the funeral home directors were just literally in tears because this flag-draped coffin stood for everything that we are. Mm-hmm. Everything that we believe in, everything that we fight for, everything that we could ever possibly do in this nation is because of this young man sitting in this coffin. And that moment, it clicked at me that you should never... I have to teach my grandchildren of this. Mm-hmm. I knew then, I didn't even have grandchildren then, but I've got to tell them this. That's why it's called Memorial Day, that we remember as a memory these that have given their lives. I'm looking at you out there, and I was like, man, how do we do this? So we go outside, full military honors. The funeral procession's like 2 miles long. Never seen nothing like it. People along the highways with flags. Now, Chris was the first soldier from Charlotte that was killed. And so it's headline news everywhere. Helicopters overhead. You've never seen so much news media. Like, I thought the president was in town. I've never seen nothing like it. So we get to the car. Your mother wanted the song that I sang, and the mayor at the time, Pat McCrory, who became governor later, wanted to give that to the president. And I was like, I really don't have a copy yet. He said, get it to me. But I'm telling you, I got to give this to the president. I said, okay. So I called the studio, long and the short. Next thing I know, the White House calls me. And I just about hung up on the dude. I thought it was like a prank, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the president's coming to Charlotte, and he wants to meet with you. He heard about this song. He heard about what happened with your brother-in-law, So long and the short, that meeting was arranged, and you were there. And that meeting that day was the most sombering. It wasn't that because I was there. This was a very surreal moment to watch the leader of the free world who had to give the order for your father to go to battle.
Yeah.
This is the man who gave the order for your father to risk his life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching this. Your mother's holding you. Of course, my father's there, and my stepmother, Chris, and I think it was your mom had you, or I'm trying to place who had you at the moment. Oh, I got to tell you this part. I don't want to get serious yet. You got to hear this. You about destroyed an entire conference meeting with the President of the United States. You did. So we're meeting at Central Piedmont College. He's doing a speech on jobs and economics, right? Mm. Your mother is beautiful. All my sisters are beautiful. They get it from me.
Oh, okay.
They're younger than me, and they get it from me, right? And but your mother stood out because she's got this long blonde hair. She's always had this stunningly beautiful long hair. She lived on the news. It was she was always in the news. She had you on the news. You know, Sue Myrick's at the house. You know, Sue Myrick's going to babysit for if she needs things. Just wonderful stuff. But the media despised the effort, and they despised. You know how they are. They're just liberal. Mm-hmm. We get to the meeting that was arranged, and you're the only baby in the whole place. These are all adults, you know, occupation people as far as jobs, and all the politicians are there, and you're the only child, 14 months old, in this building. The line is around the building. So we're there, and I'm thinking, I don't think we're supposed to be in this line. So I looked at my dad, and I said, I'll be right back. Let me go down here and see what's going on. So I walk up to the check-in thing, and I took the lady. I said, ma'am, I don't think we're supposed to be in this, but maybe we are. We have a private meeting with the president today. And she says, well, you can ask that guy right there. He had his back to me. He said, he's head of the Secret Service. So I walked up to him. I said, excuse me, sir. And he turns around and he says, Rick, how you doing? I didn't even tell the guy my name. He said, is your family with you? I said, they're back there. They're back there in the back. He said, go get them. They're not supposed to be back there. Go get them and bring them up here. When we walked up, the guy went, Robin, how you doing? Mr. Cope, Miss Chris, how you doing? Sierra, how are you doing? This guy knew us by looking at us. We never gave him a name. I thought, God, Lord have mercy. How did this guy? It was the most nervous thing I've ever had. So we go in. Now, we were allowed to take cameras. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought that was kind of strange. God, we can take cameras with us, you know, phones, you know, whatever. But no food. Okay. I remember having a drink or something, and I couldn't take it in. They had food inside, but it had to be scanned. Mm-hmm. So, long and the short, it was this. We get in there, and as soon as we walked in, the media recognizes your mother and you. And they're rustling, you know, and I'm like, oh, no, not today. Not today. So by now, the Secret Service knows who we are. They kind of stayed with us, and I said, look, I need your favor. Cheryl, your mom looked at me and said, I can't deal with it today. I said, I got it. I looked at Secret Service. I said, you see all them people right there? All that fake news right there? Fake news. You see all that fake news right there? I said, we don't want them around our sister. Not today. In no way, shape, or form. He said, we got it. And they went over and had a word of prayer with them people, and they never mess with her. So she sat down with you, you know, and I'm sitting right beside her. And she leans over and she says, we got a problem. I said, okay. She said, Sierra's going to wake up in a minute. I said, right. She said, and they took our food. She's had nothing to eat, and she's going to go off in this place. If she doesn't get something to eat, she's going to go off in this building, and she doesn't care who the president is. And I went, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. So I go grab the Secret Service guy, and he comes over and he says, yes, sir, how can I help you? I said, you see that baby right there? Yeah, the soldier's daughter. I said, right. He knew who you were. I said, yeah, that child. She's going to blow up like a bomb in about 30 minutes, according to her mama. What is it? What is it? I said, y'all took her food. He said, we took her. I said, y'all wouldn't let her have no food. I said, and she's got to have something to eat. I'll be honest with you, sir. She don't care who he is. Your boss, the president of the United States, she don't care he's the leader of the free world. She's going to go off in this place. And I don't think your boss is going to like that when that baby starts screaming in here. He said, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. He leaves. I don't know where. He said, what does she want? I said, oh, man, get a biscuit, get something, do something. He comes back. He's got a jelly biscuit. I don't know where he dug up a jelly biscuit in Central Piedmont College. He said, will this work? Will this work right here? I said, yeah, that'll work. And he says, man, you should have seen us trying to get that by the dogs. They didn't know whether to sniff it for a bomb or to eat it. And he brings it in there, and your mom's over there. You woke up. And as soon as you woke up, you kind of whimpered, and she stuck it in your mouth. And they keep you quiet while he's making his speech. And he finishes up. They whisk us away to a very private room. It's you can see in the pictures. It's blacked out. And in walks the president. And I'll never forget, his first words were, God bless you. God bless all of you. He said, pleasure to meet you, each one of you. My brother looked at him and said, Mr. President, we're praying for you. And he just got tears in his eyes. He was shocked to know that we would pray for him. Mm-hmm. And he said, he introduced himself. He knew us by picture, of course. He went around the room, shook everybody's hand. And when he got to you, he said, and this must be Sierra. He said, can I hold her? And, of course, your mother hands you off. And he looks at you, and here's what he says. He says, your father was a hero. He says, you'll not remember him nor this day. But they'll tell you about him. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you about him. He said, and I'm your president. He said, I'm going to get my picture with you. He said, where's my cameraman? He gets his camera guy over there, and he takes a picture. And if you look closely at that picture, his tears is coming down his face. Mm. I'm not trying to be political here. I'm not saying I'm for him, against him. But what I saw that day was the pressure of decision. That picture with you and him is the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed for America. The leader of the free world who gives the order for her father to go. It spoke volumes about the very day that we're celebrating. And in that moment, we actually looked at him and said, Mr. President, if you ever get back down this way, we're going to take you turkey hunting with us. We knew he was a big turkey hunter. Mm-hmm. And he said, matter of fact, I'm going to Texas next week, and I'll be back at my home place, and that's what I'm going to do, son, when I get out there. He said, but y'all do need to pray for me. He said, I'm heading out to I think it was the Red Sox games, go throw the pitch out. Mm-hmm. He actually stayed a lot longer than he was supposed to stay. Mm-hmm. He enjoyed our family, the company, finding out about you and the family, and then after that moment, life is now changing. Mm. And you're growing up, and life is moving on, and it doesn't move on without him. Yeah. But in pictures, they're watching some of your highlight reels. I picked out some stuff. There's a lot of stuff you've enjoyed. You're a softball player and a half.
Yeah.
You still playing?
No. No, I stopped when I started going into college.
I was fixed to say, I didn't know if you were still playing around with it in college a little bit or what.
I could not make it in college. Not as a softball player.
Yeah, so you like softball. You got horses underneath you. I saw you shooting bow and arrows, everything. Yeah.
Just about everything.
So, and as life went on, now you got some siblings now. Mom's remarried.
I do.
And so what's your siblings' names here?
My brother's name is Blake.
And how old is he?
He is 18.
Is he 18 now?
He's 18.
Now, the boy can shoot a shotgun and a half.
Yes,
now.
he can. He actually he's about to go to, I think it's state.
Competition.
State, yeah.
He's shooting trap, skeet shooting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have a little sister.
Mm-hmm. That's Charlie. Yeah, she's into softball.
Really? So she's playing
softball. She wants to be a catcher because Sissy was a catcher.
Oh, wow.
And she's really good at it, honestly. She's probably better than I was in high school.
I see her nearby every week at church, and I really believe she runs the house.
She does. She really does, honestly.
18-year-old, and you're what now, 21?
Yeah.
And how old is she?
She's 9.
And she's running the house?
She's running the house.
Yeah, she's running the house.
For sure.
And life has changed in a good way for you. I mean, the Lord has been good to you.
Yeah.
And, though you're watching your father's life in pictures, there's so many people that have reached out through the years, and helped paint this beautiful picture of American hero. Anything that stands out, that really stands out. I noticed, tell them what you got on around your neck there. What's this?
So I don't know if you can see these, but these are his dog tags. I don't know exactly what age I got them at, but I got them, and I used to wear them to school just about every day, especially throughout middle school. I wore those just about every day, and then I got my truck, and now I keep them on my rearview mirror at all times.
You are driving a pickup truck.
I am.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a Southern girl, there, boy. So, you gave them to me early, and I was looking at them, and this is exactly what he was wearing.
These are his.
On that historical day.
Yeah, these are his. That's why they are a little damaged. Also because of the sun from being on my rearview mirror. But I keep them on there. I have never taken them off.
Wow.
Since I started driving.
What a precious gift.
Yeah.
The last thing he's wearing. I'm sitting here, recalling the moments and watching your life grow up. I'm so proud of you, I can't stand it. I really am. I mean, you make me feel old, but I'm so proud of you, I can't stand it. I know your grandparents and both sides of the family, and your mom and them. Today we have his folded flag and his medals, and just some of his medals.
Yes, some of them.
Just some of them. You want to talk about this?
Well, honestly, I don't know what any of them mean.
Yeah.
I know that this is only like a very small amount.
Yeah, because his Purple Heart, all of that stuff, y'all have it at other places.
Yeah,
and,
we do.
The folded flag is the symbol of freedom. That's it. It was paid, man. And it's in a beautiful case. And nothing is going to bring him back, but we can go to where he is. No greater life, says no greater love than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. And that love was expressed through our Lord Jesus Christ. It was expressed on his love for us on the cross. And on days like today, we get to see that in the flesh. Although it's not our salvation he's died for, but our freedom that he's died for. And tonight, as we're closing this out, anything you want to say? Let me just ask this. Your generation, do they talk much about this? Do they really know? Because you're at a more conservative school. You're not in a liberal-based college. But do they really know? First of all, they didn't know your story.
No, they don't. But it's very strange because when I was growing up, where I'm from, it's such a small town. Everybody knows everybody. So, I mean, as I was growing up, everybody knew. Everybody that I went to school with knew. And it was such a culture shock going into college to begin with, much less the college that I go to now. I did transfer, but the college that I go to now is a very liberal school. It is.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
First one wasn't.
I'm sorry. Thinking Anderson.
Anderson
was very conservative.
Anderson was a Christian, Southern Baptist-based school.
Right.
And even the difference between that school and this one at Upstate is a stark difference.
Really?
It's so, so different. And, while I was at, when I first got into Upstate, it was right as Israel got hit. It was right during all that, and we still had protests.
Really?
We still had protests on campus, but it wasn't big. They were very small. It's a small college. But being at this college, we recognize military, but not really. It's so, so different. It's Black Lives Matter, it's gay rights and all that stuff that's in this school. At Anderson, we recognize military for sure. Military, it was praying for troops before class, during class, before tests, after class. It was.
How about that?
Was there.
Pause. Let's give a plug in on that school. Yeah. Give them the name of your school in Anderson.
Anderson University in Anderson, South Carolina.
In Anderson, South Carolina. Now, that's what I'm talking about right there. You patriots out there looking for somewhere to promote your kids to, that would be one to talk about. Say that again. You did what now? You prayed for them troops when?
Before, after class, during class, before or after test, just about any time. We had prayer in class.
Did they know your story?
No.
And they
didn't
still
know.
did it anyway.
They still did it.
I thought maybe they
did
was trying to
not.
make you feel a lot better about it, but they didn't even know your story.
No, and I come to find out, like, growing up, especially in college now, there are a lot of people that are using the VA. A lot of people who have similar stories, and I've met a few of them. One of my closer friends now is actually using the VA, and my roommate uses VA.
Wow.
Yeah. Different stories, but they're all kind of based around.
Well, one of the blessings of your college was because of your daddy's career and his love for this country, your college was paid for.
Yeah, it was. It is.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
And they ought to extend that thing as far as you want to go, as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know they got cutoff dates on it, but rightfully so for every family of the Gold Star families. Any closing remarks? What do you think? Anything you want to say? You got the floor. It's Memorial Day, and there's people watching all over the nation, and they're thinking, what is it like growing up without your dad, but only in pictures?
Growing up only in pictures, it's different. There is a small disconnect. Like, you can recognize this person. This is my father. This is what he gave. This is honorable. This is my dad. This is what I represent now. But seeing him in pictures, there's a disconnect, because it's not like, and I struggle with this because I feel like I'm not a very good advocate for kids that are in my situation, because I was only 14 months old.
Yeah.
This is different than a child that lost their parent in the military that's like 10, 11, 12 to 15.
Because they knew them.
They knew them.
They remember.
But growing up in pictures, it's a good reminder that he's there, that this did happen. This is not a fake thing. This is real. Like, this is so surreal for your entire family, and you must understand that, and you must understand where you came from. And I think it is a great thing that I have grown up with a family that has all these memories and that has all these pictures, and I love them. I adore the videos and pictures. I love them. They're like my favorite thing ever.
Absolutely.
And just the stuff that I collect, it's an insane amount of stuff. But it is so worth it. But growing up with him in pictures, it makes you remember that he was there. And, like, I do have some memories. Like, there are some things that I can, like, I see in flashes. Like, I don't have solid memory. But, like, one that I remember very specifically is the song Good Morning Beautiful.
Yes.
Dad used to sing that to me every morning, every night.
Oh, wow.
And my mom played the song, and I knew it word for word, but I couldn't remember where it came from or how, because I never heard the song, like, actually played by the person that made it. And then she told me that, and I was like, that's crazy that I can remember some things like that. But, I mean, growing up, it was difficult. It was very difficult because I honestly did not even hear his voice until I was, like, 12. I did not. I saw pictures and I knew what he looked like, but I didn't hear his voice till I was 12. So, it's different. It's very hard, but you learn to live with it. You learn to live with, this is what I stand for, and it is a great thing because people need to know that. They need to know that this does happen. It's not a movie.
Absolutely.
It's not a TV show. This is a real thing. And these men and women died for something that is so honorable for this country. And it is such a shame to see people just kind of shove it off like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's the greatest honor.
Don't get me started. I'll be locked and loaded. You hear me? Don't get me started.
I do realize I find myself being more of an advocate for military. Like,
yeah.
Even though I didn't know my dad, I see myself being more of an advocate. Like, if somebody that I run into, and I've had conversations like this, where they're knocking the military down, they're saying, oh, they're just getting it because, they just need money. They're broke. I mean, there probably are some, but it's still honorable. It's still such an honorable thing. I have friends that are in the Army right now.
Right.
And I'll talk to them every day that I can. And they're like, I'm so happy to be here. I'm serving my country.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were a symbol, still are, but for a long time, you became a symbol in our area. They would see anything, people's. I was reading memorials about your father, and people were just from all over the world. Different ones commenting. I actually went back because I knew this segment was coming up, and I said, let me go see what's happened since. And people were commenting, and I thought, how did they get this? How do they, So you would come up as a symbol, and today, on this Memorial Day, it is a symbol of honor. America owes you a debt of gratitude. Your mother your grandparents, his brothers and sisters. That gratitude should be extended. What can America do to encourage Gold Star families on days like today, or the military? What means a lot?
It means a lot when it's recognized.
Yeah. When
you have somebody that can come to you and be like, I recognize what happened to your family.
Yeah.
Because you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like I'm not alone in this, and you're being genuine about it. It's not just like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Because you hear that all the time. You've been hearing that for years.
That's right.
What is the most important thing to hear, especially on Memorial Day, is I recognize what happened with your family and what you lost, and we are so grateful for everything that has happened.
Wow. Well, I really believe you need to be a spokesperson in America, okay? And I'm not partial because you're my niece, but I'm just saying, you turned out to be a beautiful, very eloquent today. I'm so proud. I didn't know what to expect. And I thought, I don't know if she's going to be able to do this or not, but you've done tremendous. And I know everybody watching this is going to be live when it comes up. They can comment in the post. Y'all congratulate her. You love on her and her family. And most of all, you thank these troops that have given it all so we could have it all, because some gave all that we could be in this great nation. Sierra, I love you. Cheryl, we love you. Mr. and Mrs. Hill, to the family, our condolences today. Still, after all these years, Chris Hill is an American patriot, a hero to be reckoned with.
Amen to that.
We love you, girl. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in to the USPatriotPastor.com right here on God's Country. We went a little lengthy tonight, but I think well worth it. If you're sitting out by the lake, get the family around. Maybe going down the highway. Don't miss this entire segment. Share it up. Tell somebody about it. And let's support this great nation that we've been paying an awful lot of price for by these great men and women. God bless you tonight. We love you here. See us again right here on God's Country.
Good morning, beautiful. How was your night? Mine was wonderful with you by my side. And when I opened my eyes and see your sweet face, it's a good morning, beautiful day. I couldn't see the light, I didn't know day from night, I had no reason to care. But since you came along, I can face the dawn, 'cause I know you'll be there. Good morning, beautiful. How was your night? Mine was wonderful with you by my side. And when I open my eyes to see your sweet face, it's a good morning, beautiful day. Good morning, beautiful. How was your night? Mine was wonderful with you by my side. And when I open my eyes and see your sweet face,